Good morning, all. Let me say that again. Good morning, all. As we enter into this service, let me remind those of you in the sanctuary, now would be a good time to silence your cell phones. And those participating in Zoom, you've been muted by our host. So also be advised the service is being recorded, with the exception of joys and concerns, will be published online. Finally, if you wish to take a moment, arrange your own chalice at home. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, everyone, to this preview of 2023 General Assembly of the Unitarian Universalist Association, of which we are a member. Welcome, everyone here in the sanctuary and on Zoom. I'm Dolores Meira, and my pronouns are she and her. We are thankful for all those who are present and mindful of all those who are not. Those who have not felt welcome, those who have fallen to the pervasive violence in our world. We gather with those absences in our minds and those losses in our hearts. We gather in times when progress is being turned back and confidence is hard to come by. We gather to renew our faith that love just might prove stronger than hate, and to convince ourselves that even in these trying times, that the beloved community is still a possible dream. Welcome to this preview of General Assembly 2023. The theme for GA is Faithfully Becoming. Our intent today is to spark your interest, so you'll want to come to join other UUCC members and friends to learn about your Unitarian Universalist community and the world and in Cambria. Oh, I forgot to ask someone if they want to light the chalice today. Who would like to light the chalice today? Nancy, come on up and light the chalice. We gather this hour as people of faith with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope as our sign of our quest for truth and meaning in celebration of the life we share together. Oh, yes. Look at that. Okay. Before we sing the first hymn, let me remind our remote participants to leave yourselves muted. However, we want you and whoever is with you to sing as loud and big as you like. Make it a joyous experience. Please stand in body and or spirit and sing the opening hymn, Building a New Way, number 1017.
We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. Hate and greed and jealousy. We are working to be free. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. Start with love, that is the seed. We can feed our every need. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Without these, the world will die. Peace and freedom is our cry.
Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist community of Cambria. We are glad you have joined us today. Our UUCC sanctuary sits on land that the Salinan and Chumash indigenous peoples historically inhabited. We honor their contribution to this region and give thanks for the opportunity to gather in faith on their unceded territory. Let us respect their legacy and protect their history as we occupy this sacred space. As Unitarian Universalists, we celebrate religious diversity and welcome all who journey in search of faith and spirituality. The UUCC is a lay-led congregation run by the democratic process. We invite speakers from different religious traditions and spiritual or scientific backgrounds to speak at our pulpit. We encourage presentations covering a variety of topics and areas of interest that connect with the UU 7 principles. Today's service centers around the second principle. We affirm and promote justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. Compassion is something that we can easily act on individually. We can demonstrate openness, give people respect, and treat people with kindness on our own. But we need one another to achieve equity and justice. It points us to the larger community. It promotes collective responsibility. It reminds us that treating people as human beings is not simply something we do on a one-on-one, but something that has systemic implications that can inform our entire cultural way of being. My name is Dolores Meira, and I am your worship associate this morning. I would like to extend a special welcome to today's guests and visitors. We're glad you've joined us this morning. If you're not on the mailing list, please visit the UUCC website. I think most of you are. And look at what's happening. The e-blast sent to you every week. It's a great way to keep up to date and our latest news. If you wish to see this or any of the past Zoom services, you can be found on the UUCC website and on Facebook. The membership committee invites non-members to consider joining the UUCC. Please contact Diane DeMarco, thank you, and or any board members. So again, good morning and welcome to everyone. The affirmation is a recognition of the nature of this community, as well as a promise to which we aspire. Let us now sing the affirmation.
Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its prayer. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in freedom, and to help, and to help, and to help one another.
We set aside this time for any announcements that will be of interest to our UU community members and friends. Please keep your items short and to the point. If something needs more explanation, contact the person after the service. If you'd like to make an announcement, raise your hand and Andy or I call you. Please step up to the podium or unmute yourself and then speak. Robert.
Morning, everybody. The scholarship program is proceeding apace. Frankly, I think it's one of the most wonderful things we do. We've interviewed, or looked at rather, applications of approximately 20 students from Coast Union High School, And we've got 5 applications from the Leffingwell High School as well. These kids are so incredible. It makes you want to give them all scholarships. We've raised almost $9,000, and so we're asking that you help us get over that line so we can give out 9 scholarships. And if you feel real generous, maybe we'll get to 10 or 11 and be able to reward that many scholarships. So you've got until May the 1st to do that. So after you pay your taxes, give money to scholarships for the youth of Cambria. Thank you.
Women's group is tomorrow at 2 o'clock. If you'd like to get on the invitation, contact me.
I'm very happy that we're going to be tented in a few weeks, the building for the termites. I met with Rick yesterday, the building manager, to give him my key. And he mentioned that the plants around the building are all going to die. And I said, well, can perhaps have the landscapers cut them down so we don't just have a bunch of dead plants around? And he said no. So I just thought everybody should know because it will, yes?
Since I do the garden, I've checked into this, and not all the plants are going to die. They need to be watered real well before it starts. I'm going to be out of town, so I can't come water. We don't have to worry about the succulents along the fence. It's the things out front, which I just finished with all that landscaping. So I'm going to take my chances that nothing's going to happen. If it does, I'll replace the ones that it happens to, but from what I understand from other people that have had this done, it doesn't kill them all. I think he's being overly cautious. So,
Okay.
so if someone will just make sure, like I said, I'm not going to be here, especially those out front are watered real well just before it's done.
Okay, I was also concerned about the big plants under our stairway. You know, they're beautiful and, okay. All right, that's it.
We have one hand raised in our virtual attendees. Lou, can you unmute yourself?
Good morning. Men's group will meet tomorrow at 10 o'clock in the sanctuary with a Zoom option. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Lou. Go ahead, Nancy.
Thanks, Andy. Just because I keep forgetting to put it in the newsletter, and not everybody reads that anyways, but the Moving Towards Racial Justice group is meeting a week from Wednesday at 5 o'clock at Las Cambritas, at 5 o'clock for beverages of your choice. And at 6 o'clock, we're going to start our meeting, but we're going to be talking about podcasts. And so everybody's encouraged to listen to whatever podcast about racial justice they think sounds interesting, and then kind of like little book reports. We're going to share what we've gathered, and then other people can like, oh, I want to listen to that one, or I won't waste my time maybe, or whatever. So that's the plan. Hope and everybody's welcome.
I'll just remind everyone, if I may, that the meditation group is still meeting on Thursday mornings. I personally will be away for the next few weeks, but anyone else who chooses to come, will try and make sure the door is open and we can have a meditation Thursday mornings at 10 a.m. here in the sanctuary.
Great. Thanks, Andy. Next week, Jan Musara will present Red Chords, Further Thoughts on Faith by Anne Lamott. We take this time to celebrate all who are having a birthday this month. Birthdays are special, a day when we celebrate your entry into the world and honor your existence. If you have a birthday this month, please raise your hand. When Andy or I call on you, please reveal your special date. Tom? 28th. Okay. Okay, I'm the 26th. Who else? Okay. Anybody else? Andy?
No one with a raised hand out there.
Okay.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Vanna's putting this on our.
Vanna, yes.
We are glad you were born.
This birthday candle honors all friends and family members who are also celebrating birthdays this month. Joys and concerns, sharing some of our personal and significant joys and concerns brings us closer as a faith community. We invite you to share the milestones that are deeply felt as part of your personal life, express a gratitude, or perhaps offer an acknowledgement. Please be mindful and considerate of all who come to worship with us this morning. The collective flames of these candles embody all the joys and concerns which may have gone unspoken today, but are also deeply felt in this community. Please join in singing the response.
May our words of joy and sorrow find solace in our hearts.
First reading today is a message of courage and compassion titled, How Can I Be Love? By Deet Walid. It was written a couple of days ago. When day comes, we ask ourselves, where can we find light in this never-ending shade? Said Amanda Gorman from The Hill We Climb. How long, O great mystery, how long? I ask as I turn off the news of yet another act of senseless violence ending the lives of innocent people. As a mother, grandmother, and great-grandmother, I am filled with anger and fear, but also compassion and questioning. I'm curious about these shooters. What happened in their young lives that they had to seek the attention of the world by shooting others? What has caused them to seek fame in such a violent way? What causes a person to kill people they don't know in order to be accepted or recognized? How many mothers' tears does it take to heal our wounds? Not only the tears of Black mothers and Native mothers, but tears of white mothers too? Will it make a difference that these tears are now coming from blue eyes? Amanda Gorman reminds us that there is always light in this never-ending shade, that love can be our legacy if only we're brave enough to be it. How can I be love instead of being anger and fear? It's easy to love my grandchildren when they agree with me. When they don't, I say my truth and then shut my mouth, even when that's hard. So how often do I need to say violence is not the answer or don't kill when the shootings keep repeating? I'm not sure I know how to be love towards someone who seems so far from me, but I know I want to try. Instead of putting more fear and anger into the world, I can choose my mouth and I can close my mouth and send love energy to all parents of difficult children, including those who are hardest to love. Like any change in my life, I can only do it one small act, one small thought at a time. I can only pray it will be enough. Her prayer? Mama God, wrap us and all our children in your arms of love. Give us the courage to be love, even when we are afraid. Blessed be. Let us enter a place of peace and serenity, where you are one with your spiritual being. Be at peace within your space, where the absence of all that is temporal is its most cherished gift. Let us enter the stillness. When love and compassion are present in us and we send them outward, then that is truly prayer. Further, in sending love outward, we may notice a change in our own heart. Amen. Second reading is an excerpt from the Reflections of GA 2017, the co-president's panel discussion, captured by Deb Weiner, our online chat moderator. The backdrop to this was the Reverend Sophia Betancourt, Reverend William Sinkford, and Leon Spencer were appointed as interim presidents in 2017 when Peter Morales, UUA president, resigned 3 months before the end of his 6-year term due to an escalating controversy over the UUA's hiring practices that perpetuate white supremacy. Reverend Sinkford says, "It is critical to understand this time in UUism as a time of opportunity to chart a more inclusive, more grounded course forward. This is a time to shift attention away from persons and toward the patterns, and how it is that we embody this fabulous faith and make some changes so that we can live into a hopeful future." Leon Spencer says, "We have such a history of pain and such a history of success. We have lived in our pain and we can grow from it. And we run from success. I hear that we have a second chance. This is a second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth chance. We need to do it differently. How do we come together in our differences, our pain, our healing?" He says, this is about all people. What is the picture of the benefit of dismantling a white supremacist culture? This isn't just about my brothers and sisters of color. This is about you white folks also. This is an opportunity to think about what it would be like to let that go. Reverend Betancourt says, there is this fear that there is only so much energy to invest in racial justice. We become whole if we lean into this opportunity and remember, this is the foundation of what we mean when we talk about white supremacy. But this culture dominates everyone. So it is all about Black people? No. Will it ever be addressed if we don't dig into this issue? No. This is how we become whole, by digging into it. Leon Spencer says, "I love saying, come to the welcome table. My thought goes to, who owns the table we are coming to, and where am I going to sit at the table? I want to come to that table, but we need to build a welcome table, and we need to build it on the structure of white supremacy culture. We all need to be at the table. We have to do more than sing it. We have to restructure. I think we know how to do it. We do. So how do we risk restructuring the table, and what do you bring to it?" Bill Sinkford says, "We have relied a lot on the staff around what is needed, pastoral support. That is the easy part. The hard part is what we do in our congregational settings. That means asking different questions. Who you hire, how you welcome, who you buy from. This is not beyond your scope, and move beyond systems to a place where it is always okay to ask how race and class impact the conversation." Reverend Betancourt says, "We have understood ourselves to be on that edge around justice. This is an invitation to our broader communities to do this long needed work that must be driven by our values and supported by our faith. And you will hear more about a commission on institutional change to help guide vision and resources. They can't do it without you. This allows us to do the work together. We are a community of faith. When you get an invitation, say yes, show up, be beautiful. We believe in you. Reverend Singford says, there is a tension about whether to invest my energy here or elsewhere. And I need to know that this is one piece of work. What we are called to do is what the Spirit is asking us to respond to. I found that space, given my commitments to this faith. It could not be more important to me for this faith to redeem its history. A lot of it is history I lived through. I had to leave at one point. I don't want to have to leave again. I don't want anyone to have to leave because we refuse to do this work. Today, Andy Feigin and I will be giving you a preview of the 2023 UU General Assembly that all of us can participate in right here in Cambria, June 21st to the 25th, every day virtually. No need to travel to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. General Assembly is the annual gathering of Unitarian Universalists where we, the member congregations, conduct business of the association, big board meeting, explore the theological underpinnings of our faith, and lean fully into our mission and principles. Participants worship, witness, learn, connect, and make policy for the association through the democratic process. Anyone may attend. Congregations have to certify annually to have voting delegates. Andy will now start us off.
Thanks, Dolores. Thanks for having me partner with you on this talk, and thanks for the beautiful prayers and readings that you've done so far. They were so well chosen and written. Attending the UUA General Assembly is, as we like to say, a joyous experience. We know how nice it is to gather amongst ourselves, a group of 20 or 30 UUs. Just think about what it's like to be surrounded by thousands of UUs, exponentially more powerful. Art might not think so, I'm not sure. No, but one feels, and I can say this from experience, one feels part of something, really big. But unless you're heading to Pittsburgh, as Dolores said, to the David L. Lawrence Convention Center right there on the rivers, you're not going to have that experience in body, but you can have it in spirit. Dolores and I have registered, as she said, as attendees and delegates. We plan to share that experience in real time with any of our members who wish to join us here in the sanctuary. The UUA has gone to great lengths to make since COVID, to make General Assembly accessible to all UUs. And so they have done a great job of televising the events, and we'll be screening all the general sessions, worship sessions, as well as some of the workshops here on the big screen. You'll see and hear the speeches, the debates, the prayers, and the music through our AV system. You'll even watch Dolores and me participate in the voting that takes place during general sessions, including the election of Dr. Reverend Sophia Betancourt, who's running unopposed as our new UUA president. Because GA will take place in Pittsburgh this June, the schedule is based on Eastern time, so the majority of events will take place here between 8 a.m. and 6:30 p.m. There are some long days, and Dolores is going to describe what the schedule is looking like, beginning Wednesday, June 21st, with the kickoff banner parade.
So there's our, that's the schedule. As you notice, the green, so it starts for here, Pacific Coast time on the left-hand side there. That's the little, so it starts at 8 o'clock technically here. We're gonna try and get here every day before 8 o'clock. And you'll notice there's 3 different areas. And the first one is this big green one. That's the general session that we all can hear and listen to. But Andy and I, because our church is only allotted 2 delegates from each, from our congregation based on the size. And so we'll be voting, but you can all be listening and arguing with us. Okay, and then there's the blue ones, excuse me, and then the workshops, which are in those peach color looking ones. Okay, there's a ton of workshops, and then the blue ones are the worship, and the worship every day. So here it'll start at 8 o'clock. Really good. I mean, some really good speakers, ministers that run the worship on that. And then on Sunday, we're going to have a worship, and I'll show you who's speaking on that in a minute. So that's the schedule. It's going to be intense. You know, there'll be a lot of us. So Andy and I will be here. Andy might be at home. I don't know, right? So you'll be here in the sanctuary most of the time.
We'll figure that out.
Yeah, we'll figure that out. Just bring your slippers and we'll have coffee going, and okay. And so this is how it always is. This was cut up. Randy, cut that first part, and this is the second part from the time, just because we couldn't get it on one screen. So we're going to be electing a new president for the next 6 years, so they'll be talking about that. And then we're going to be reviewing and accepting the revision of, or attempting to accept the revision of the principles and purposes of our faith. So with that and the dozen workshops and then the worship, you'll want to come and attend. Come in whenever you can. Okay, so I'm supposed to run this thing, right? Make it go this way. Oh, you got it. Okay, he handed. That's good. Okay, so that's how we vote in person at the General Assembly, right? So if it all passes or not, we'll be going online to do that this year. And then this is just page 1 of the events that are on demand right now. You can get a lot of these right now. Oh, they're not ready yet, I've noticed. I tried to get on one. Okay, right. There's just a ton, and there's something for everybody here. If you're an ecologist, if it's about, clergy, we don't have that. Changing the name of your congregation. We don't want to do that, do we? Creating a responsible congregation, all sorts of, they're great, right? All things are connected. There's spiritual, there's, stuff for running the congregations. You'll want to attend. Just drop in, come in. And then the worship. This is the speaker for the Sunday worship session, Reverend Manish Mishra Marzetti. I've never heard him personally, and I'm sure he's wonderful because that's who they pick. So the next part is what we'll be discussing in those general sessions is the Article 2 rewrite, redo, brand new. And Andy's going to talk about that in a minute. Let me just give you a little update on what Article 2 is before he starts talking about it. So here's my first question to you. How many of you can recite the UUA 7 principles and purposes? Okay. How about the 6 sources? Okay, so we're going to redo them, so you don't even have to. Don't even worry about that, okay? Article 2 of the Unitarian Universalist Association, UUA, bylaws, principles, and purposes is the foundation for all the work of our UUA and member congregations and covenanted communities. It is the covenant to which all of our congregations and covenanted communities pledge themselves when they become members of the UUA. Our current principles and purposes were last revised in, and I see two different dates, either 1985 or 1987 at the General Assembly. And at the General Assembly in 2017, there was a discussion of amending the principles to add an 8th principle addressing racism and an amended 1st principle addressing a non-human life. The 5th principle was the subject of a report in 2009, which dealt with the ways in which GA and other Unitarian Universalist gatherings do and don't embody an inclusive democratic process. The 7th principle has also been the subject of discussions about possible amendments. There have been many projects, resolutions, task force, and other strategies that have come from the board, Commission on Appraisal, and grassroots groups, which encourage us to take a look at our principles, purposes, bylaws, and rules. It is time for us to do a review and make changes so that we are living into Unitarian Universalism of the future, a Unitarian Universalism that holds us in times of great need and ethical, moral, and spiritual crisis. We are in one of those times now. So in response to this, instead of Andy's going to read what the new suggestion is right now, Article 2. That's what you'll hear it as. I just want to, so there's already been lots of commentary on this, and should be, right? And we're going to have more time for more commentary. They've already curated a list of questions, the questions and then the answers. And I will attempt to get that into the newsletter, right? So that you can click on it and then open it up and see what these are. And I just want to, so why change Article 2 now? Unitarian Universalism is a living tradition that learns and adapts to meet the needs of each generation. It's been nearly 40 years since a comprehensive review and revision of Article 2. The digital age has shifted our interactions with community and truth. That doesn't sound right. Has shifted our interactions, with community and truth. The COVID-19 pandemic has highlighted our interdependence and where individualism falls short. There is a rise in global autocracies and attacks on democratic institutions, and climate catastrophe and mass extinctions threaten the delicate balance of the web of life. These are just a few of the major struggles our living tradition must face today and in our future. With the articulation of our shared UU values, we can be better equipped to make values-based decisions in facing these new and evolving realities. So Andy, saving time here, one of the questions that keeps getting singled out here is why single out racism and not name sexism, ableism, and cis heterosexism? This is one of the questions in these, in response to what's all going on here. The Unitarian Universalist Association has made many commitments to confront powers and structures, systemic oppression over the decades. And many Unitarian Universalists are active in dismantling such systems with our institutions and the broader world. One such commitment has been particularly hard to see through: the dismantling of institutional racism and white supremacy culture. The UUA has had many starts and stops in this work, and the discomfort facing race garners great pushback from the dominant culture. We are being called not to turn away this time, to make it explicit that we hold ourselves accountable to systemic anti-racist and anti-oppressive actions to build beloved community. Anti-racism itself is an intersectional commitment to dismantling sexism, ableism, and cis heterosexism. And now Andy will give us a preview of what to expect.
Okay, thanks, Dolores. So it's fair to say that big changes are coming. I think you got it. Article 2 is the part of our bylaws that spells out currently the 7 principles and the sources. That's been around a long time, and this commission has revised them. You're going to hear, as I'm going to share them with you, and you'll hear a lot of the language that you're used to, but then you're going to hear a lot of language that's new. You may be wondering, well, I thought the 8th principle was part of this. Actually, that was a separate movement that also came up during the last 10, 15 years. Its language is incorporated into the new wording, which doesn't really call itself 7 principles anymore. So let's get to it. Noting that this is going to be proposed, is Friday the general session when this is going to be debated?
Yes.
The Friday general session that you saw on that chart, there's lots of business to be discussed at the general sessions. The Friday session is dedicated to this. And, people line up and have their comments, respond to the questions Dolores referred to, and anything else. So there'll be a lot of debate. I don't even know how they're going to get to a conclusion in one afternoon. But they have been good at sort of tightening the process over the last few years. And they will call a vote at some point. So unless it goes completely off the rails, Dolores and I will be voting whether to accept the current language or the language as it gets amended during that process. All right. So here is the breakdown of the new bylaws structure. You can see 5 sections, and those are the titles of the 5 sections. And I felt like the wording was so important because this is going to be our new guidelines more than, I have a better word for it. You'll hear some familiar words which have been carried over from the 7 principles as well as the proposed 8th principle, as well as a lot of reframing of beliefs we hold dear. So, section C2.1, purposes. And I'm just going to read them as you follow along. I figured between my voice and the printed word, it would have the best impact. And all of this is available online if you choose to follow up. The Unitarian Universalist Association will devote its resources to use its originalization powers for religious, educational, its organizational powers for religious, educational, and humanitarian purposes. Its primary purposes are to assist congregations in their vital ministries, support and train leaders, both lay and professional, to foster lifelong faith formation, to heal historic injustices, and to advance our Unitarian Universalist values in the world. The purpose of the Unitarian Universalist Association is to actively engage its members in the transformation of the world through liberating love. Section C2.2, Values and Covenant. As Unitarian Universalists, we covenant, congregation to congregation, and through our association, to support and assist one another in our ministries. We draw from our heritages of freedom, reason, hope, and courage, building on the foundation of love. Love is the power that holds us together and is at the center of our shared values. We are accountable to one another for doing the work of living our shared values through the spiritual discipline of love. Now, this graphic is offered up as an illustration of how the next segments are inseparable from one another. These shared values are inseparable from one another. And this is as close as they come to a 7 principles. Now it's 6 values. And the first one is, as you can see, interdependence. We honor the interdependent web of all existence. We covenant to cherish Earth and all beings by creating and nurturing relationships of care and respect. With humility and reverence, we acknowledge our place in the great web of life, and we work to repair harm and damaged relationships. Pluralism. We celebrate that we are all sacred beings, diverse in culture, experience, and theology. We covenant to learn from one another in our free and responsible search for truth and meaning. We embrace our differences and commonalities with love, curiosity, and respect. Justice. We work to be diverse, multicultural, beloved communities where all thrive. We covenant to dismantle racism and all forms of systemic oppression. We support the use of inclusive democratic processes to make decisions. Transformation. We adapt to the changing world. We covenant to collectively transform and grow spiritually and ethically. Openness to change is fundamental to our Unitarian and Universalist heritages, never complete and never perfect. Generosity. We cultivate a spirit of gratitude and hope. We covenant to freely and compassionately share our faith, presence, and resources. Our generosity connects us to one another in relationships of interdependence and mutuality. And finally, equity. We declare that every person has the right to flourish with inherent dignity and worthiness. We covenant to use our time, wisdom, attention, and money to build and sustain fully accessible and inclusive communities. Now we get back to the sections. That was all section C22. We continue with section C23 called Inspirations. And this is roughly where like sources used to be, but different. Inspirations. As Unitarian Universalists, we use and are inspired by sacred and secular understandings that help us to live into our values. We respect the histories, contexts, and cultures in which they were created and are currently practiced. These sources ground us and sustain us in ordinary, difficult, and joyous times. Grateful for the religious ancestries we inherit and the diversity which enriches our faith, we are called to ever deepen and expand our wisdom. Inclusion. Systems of power, privilege, and oppression have traditionally created barriers for persons and groups with particular identities, ages, abilities, and histories. We pledge to replace such barriers with ever-widening circles of solidarity and mutual respect. We strive to be an association of congregations that truly welcome all persons who share our values. We commit to being an association of congregations that empowers and enhances everyone's participation, especially those with historically marginalized identities. Freedom of belief. Congregational freedom and the individual's right of conscience are central to our Unitarian Universalist heritage. Congregations may establish statements of purpose, covenants, and bonds of union so long as they do not require that members adhere to a particular creed. So there they are. Good luck memorizing all that. If you had trouble memorizing the 7 principles, good luck with that. But that's the new version. Obviously, a lot of work has gone into this. And as Dolores indicated, the debates, the commission's been in place, I think, almost 10 years. And they have worked so hard with so much input, with the world changing as they're working on it. It's really remarkable. They're an amazing group of people. They will present this like I did, but hopefully better, at the GA, and the debates will ensue, and we'll see what happens. Okay, moving on to the next section of the overall talk about General Assembly, another big deal, and we've talked about it before. Robert and I spoke about, spoke about articles of immediate witness, AIWs, in prior discussions about GA. It keeps wanting to advance. I don't know why. You got the picture in case it goes ahead. An action of immediate witness is a statement about a significant action, event, or development in the world that necessitates immediate engagement and action among UU member congregations and groups. That's the idea. And so every year, anybody, any member, any congregation as a group or a member as an individual can recommend an article of immediate witness to address an immediate issue. They are previewed in a pre-General Assembly meeting, and then 3 are chosen to go to General Assembly for a vote. And those AIWs guide the UUA and its members in annual focus on what's most important right now. Last year, just to remind you, last year's 3 AIWs were: we do not consent, rejecting legal challenges to abortion. Number 2 was anti-racism and reparations via restorative justice. And the third one's title, obviously the body of the AIW followed the titles, but you get the idea. The third one was opposition to the privatization of Medicare. Those were the 3 topics that rose to the top of the list last year. They were important last year, they're still important, and 3 more will be coming this year. Dolores. Now we can get to this slide.
This is the one of the great programs at the General Assembly is the Ware Lecture. It's in consultation with the General Assembly and the UUA president, and they invite a distinguished guest every year to speak at the Ware Lecture. And this year it's Amani Perry. She is the Hughes Rogers Professor of African American Studies at Princeton. And in the summer, she will join the faculty at Harvard University as a Radcliffe professor. She has written, I guess that we might end up reading, right, in our group. Yeah, South to America, a journey below the Mason-Dixon to understand the soul of a nation. And so you will want to be sure to attend the Ware Lecture to see her on that. And then Andy has a slide of 100 years of Ware Lectures, people that have come in. Karen Armstrong, Wawona LaDuke, do you remember these folks? Van Jones, Holly Near. I think I was there for that one. There's Marie.
Alvin Toffler, what did he write?
Alvin Toffler.
Yeah, it was a sociology book. It was really big in the 60s.
There was only one year that there was not, right? There was not a Ware Lecture. It was the war, 45, yeah, somewhere around there.
So,
No, go ahead.
okay. So I just picked out several lecturers from the past of significance, just to give you a flavor for what they might be like. Richard Blanco spoke in 2019. Richard was selected by President Obama as the 5th inaugural poet in U.S. history. Richard Blanco is the youngest and the first Latino immigrant and gay person to serve in such a role. So he read the poem at one of Obama's inaugurations, probably the second one. No, he was selected, yeah. Brian Stevenson, where many of us know Brian. He spoke in 2017, founder and executive director of the Equal Justice Initiative in Montgomery, Alabama. Crucial leader in racial justice. Sister Simone Campbell spoke in 2014. She's the executive director of the network and founder of Nuns on the Bus. Remember them? She spoke before GA on walking towards trouble as an act of faith. Mary Oliver in 2006, the beloved poet who means so much to many of us. Cornel West, I was there for that, 2015. Cornel West is a prominent and fiery, provocative Democratic intellectual. Krista Tippett, 2016, one of my favorites, right? The Peabody Award-winning host of the podcast On Being, formerly Speaking of Faith. She spoke in 2016. Stacey Abrams spoke in 2021 on an all-virtual GA. She launched Fair Fight Action after the 2018 gubernatorial election to ensure every American has a voice in our election system, and she's remained on the forefront of that campaign. Kurt Vonnegut, 1986, described his connection to Unitarian Universalism with characteristic sarcasm. He said, in order not to seem spiritually inept to strangers trying to get a fix on me, I sometimes say I'm a Unitarian Universalist. So that denomination claims me as one of their own. And finally, Martin Luther King Jr. spoke in 1966. His lecture was entitled, Don't Sleep Through the Revolution, with which he concluded, free at last, thank God Almighty, we are free at last.
You'll want to attend. This morning's offering will now be given and received. Please remember we're a self-sustaining congregation and provide all financial resources for our many ministries. We recognize the spiritual value of generosity and invite you to participate. If you're viewing this service remotely, please use one of the methods shown on the screen. Thank you. Our thanks for all gifts given and received for the work of this community. And now let's sing in praise of our UU faith tradition.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart. me, come to me.
Please stand in body and or spirit and sing the closing hymn, Blue Boat Home, 1064.
Though below me I feel no motion, standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean, still my dry land heart can say, I've been sailing all my life now, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home. Sun, my sail, and moon, my rudder, as I ply the starry sea, leaning over the edge in wonder, casting questions into the deep, drifting here with my ship's companions, all we kindred pilgrim souls, making our way by the lights of the heavens in our beautiful blue boat home. I give thanks to the waves upholding me, hail the great winds urging me on, greet the infinite sea before me, sing the sky my sailor's song. I was born upon the fathoms, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home.
As we prepare to extinguish the chalice, let us recite the valediction. We extinguish this flame, but we keep its light in our hearts with the message of love and justice, taking it outside these walls to the world we live in. Please extinguish your chalice at home now. After the closing words, we encourage you to take a seat for questions and comments. Now let's form a circle and join hands. I guess I got for the microphone. So I want to encourage everyone to be here June 21st to the 25th to view GA here in Cambria. But here are the closing words. Let us remember that it is by our words and actions that we create beloved community. Go in peace.